New videos every day.
Hello, this is Athena Jezik, and today we're going to look at how to massage the back with various techniques. So first, just getting an assessment to feel how the skin is doing. I feel the muscles underneath as well. Feel if there's any warm spots, cold spots, tense spots, any places where there might be a wet area or congestion of fluid. Feels pretty good. And then we apply the oil. After that, I'm going to be using a cream, which is actually, it's not really a cream, it's more of a solid oil. It's got a little bit of coconut oil in it, which hardens, makes it a little harder, easier to grab at than just slippery liquid oil. The viscosity stays nice when there's a blend of oils. So applying the back moderately with whatever type of lotion or oil that you choose to use, making sure that there's a nice slip so you don't get any friction on the skin. That doesn't feel good when that happens. Okay, where I like to start usually is concentrating on the muscles along the vertebrae. And of course, the vertebrae does go up to the base of the skull. So we're just going to spread some of the muscles here along the shoulder blade before we go down the spine. And I'm coming in with a little bit of pressure close into the spine as I'm sweeping it outward. And this primarily is to feel for tension in that long back muscle, the erector spinae. And then I use my thumbs and thumb iron it down. There's a fair amount of pressure here, but not a whole lot. It's working right into where the muscles are going to invite my thumbs in. I'm not going to force myself in. That always gives the body a push back, a tension that we don't want to do when we're working with massage therapy, which is primarily to get things to relax. And just going real close into that spine. Be sure not to take your thumbs on the bones itself. And then moving from there, getting up into the upper shoulder area, where the attachments are here with the trapezius, stretching it out, coming up from the neck and working it downward. And again, getting inside the fibers, but don't go any deeper, any more pressure than what the body's letting you do. Don't force yourself into those tissues. As it gets more and more relaxed, you'll find that it'll probably take you in deeper. And this is following the trapezius muscle. And working it up this direction. And then I come up to this side and work the muscle with that same kind of a thumb iron up from the opposite direction. It gives a stretch to the muscle in a little bit different angle. Instead of origin to insertion, it goes from insertion to origin, just stretching the muscle a little bit differently. And then working down. Kneading it back up, pulling the muscle to the side and getting yourself underneath some of those structures. The deeper you go, the harder it is to palpate. Sometimes if you can get the muscle to move aside, you can get to a deeper structure. Usually, though, you're working through a muscle to another muscle. And there are some that just aren't able to be palpated with massage therapy. Then working down, doing the sweeping down the back to the low back. And here, where all these connections are at the crest of the hip line into the SI joint, there's oftentimes a lot of tension in there. So it's good to pay attention to what you're feeling. And I take it both in the way with the fibers and against the fibers, or cross fiber friction, which is going the opposite way of how the fibers of the muscles are. And then taking the thumb iron up the spine instead of down the spine like we did earlier. We're taking it up the spine. It opens the vertebrae up a little bit differently than taking it down. And if you were to look at the way the bones come together, you'd see how there's a little bit bigger range of motion coming up the spine than going down. Okay. I usually do things about 3 times, and on that I move myself outward from the spine each time I take a thumb iron up the back. And then I'm going to do some kneading along here, the entire back muscle, all up to the spine, pulling that muscle a little bit open, and then getting my fingers underneath the attachments there, in between the attachments. You can tell when you get under there, it's pretty obvious when you're feeling the muscle pick up. And then back down, and then I just do a general sweep up the back, using a fair amount of pressure along the belly of the muscle, the erector spinae, as I come up the spine, right along the belly of the muscle, which takes it a little bit away from the vertebrae, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And then we repeat everything on the other side. I'm just going over the shoulder blades. I always check the muscles there as well, a little bit around the scapula. There's even a little picking up of the scapula that's done. Okay, and then sweeping down. And here we go again with the checking the hip. And then the thumb irons up along the vertebrae. Okay, and then we do that little stretching along the vertebrae. Feels pretty good to have this kind of a stretching action, pulling away. There's quite a bit of tendinous type of connective tissue in here. It's pretty tough. It has to hold the structure in place. The muscles are usually pretty strong, and it's important to have a counterbalance of the abdominal muscles being equally as strong so that you have a better balance with your front and back, and your posture can be straighter. And then we'll ride it up. Okay. And then I like to do a little bit more of the spine work, vibrating down and then working back up. All the way to the base of the skull, and then vibrating back down. And ride it back up. And then on the second one, when I come down the vertebrae, let me go to the other side. And I go around each vertebrae here. Is that it? And just go around each vertebrae, and this is the final thing that we do. You don't want to be on top of the bone in this move, but you do want to go in between. It feels real good to get a little circulation going in there and just to manipulate the muscles, the connective tissue in that space. And then back up, and then another sweep down, just like we started, with a little bit broader hand for the final. And up to the neck. Okay, there we have the back. How to do a back massage.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psychetruth channel.